What's going on, everybody? Cheers. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the With Her Two Hands podcast, where each week we celebrate women who build, fix, and make things with their own two hands. I am your host, Bogi, master mechanic by trade, however, celebrating all trades and women throughout all of the blue collar hands on industries. Women in these trades tend not to get recognized nearly enough. We're a small minority of the overall trades force, but we are a mighty group of women, and our numbers are definitely growing. And we're seeing more and more women coming up in the ranks. However, our guest tonight is a woman who, similar to myself, came into the trades more than 20 years ago, which means it was a different landscape when she came up in this world. And yet she has made a huge success for herself, made a great life for herself. She is a business owner. She hails from New England. She is a general contractor and carpenter, and I am super excited to meet her. But I want to thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us every week on these Wednesday live streams. And of course, joining in on Monday for the archive episodes. As always, you can listen to this whenever you want on wherever you get your podcasts, and it'll always be on YouTube and on Facebook as well. If you like this series, please make sure you hit like and hit subscribe and leave us comments and send us some love. Leave us a review. It helps get more eyes on these incredible women and allows their stories to be heard and hopefully impact future generations of the trades and future generations of women as they come up within the trades. So without further ado, I am going to bring in tonight's guest. I am super excited to meet Miss Kelly Gannon. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. You?
Fantastic. I love your bright blue wall.
It's literally not mine. I
Oh,
probably would never paint anything fucking blue, but am I allowed to swear? Shit.
yes, you're totally allowed to swear.
Okay. All right. No, I would not paint anything blue. This is literally in my guys thing.
That's okay.
No.
I love it. Of course, the
No.
first
Yeah,
thing
I'm
that I
like a
commented.
black, like gray.
I love it. So we're going to do a
Yeah.
disclaimer on this episode. Kelly is from New England. She's from Massachusetts, and we know that New England girls, similar to New York girls, like I am, we are spicy. So be forewarned, there will be adult language, there will be mature language. It's going to happen.
It's true.
Sorry, not
It's
sorry.
true. I will try to be like not
That's okay.
super cussing, but
No,
yeah.
I don't care. You be you, darling.
All right.
So tell the fine folks at home who you are and what you do.
Just put me on the spot.
Oh,
Shit.
is this your first time doing an interview?
Ever.
Ever? Oh my God, I'm so honored.
Like ever, even with like, well, I did like one stupid like article. I shouldn't say stupid because if she watches, she's gonna be ashamed. But I did like one article for like some magazine, and they made me do a Zoom, and I was just like, this is not comfortable. This is so awkward. Like I'm good in the field, I'm good at like in real life, but
yeah.
this is like, I don't know.
That's
this is
okay.
like not my like. I'm old.
I am super honored that you said yes.
I'm
and agreed
literally
to do
old.
This. No,
How old are
you're
you?
not. I am 45. How old are
Oh,
you?
so you're older than me.
See.
Yay. I'm just kidding. I'm 43.
Okay. We're in the same boat.
So I'm Kelly. I am a general contractor. I have been in the trade since I was very young. So I started out with my brothers, and we literally started rehabbing apartments that we lived in to save money on rent and like get into places. And we found that was an angle, and my dad always did it. So it made sense. And then, yeah, I got up on a roof one day, and that was it. Like,
explain me that angle. Like, so you used rehabbing the apartments to get into them, or you just were
so if you live in like poverty, which we lived in, and I'm not gonna lie, like we lived in shit. So you sell these landlords, like they're like, why should we rent to you? Well, I don't know, because I'm gonna fix your shit up. Like I'm gonna make your shit look nice because you don't want to do it. I don't know, it's something like that my dad kind of programmed in us when we were kids. We lived in the housing projects, and he actually got in trouble for fixing the housing, like, because you're not allowed to touch anything when you live in housing. Right. Like, don't paint, don't do anything. And my dad was building trellises for my mom. He's like over here. He's like, I'm painting all the kids' rooms, and he got in trouble for that. But it just became like later on, like my brothers utilized it. We utilized it to our advantage. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, no,
Like
absolutely.
we were like, hey, like I can come in here and fix this place up and, just give me a place to live. And it worked.
No, that's
It
super
worked.
smart.
It worked. And I mean, I always said to my kids, like we lived poor, but we never lived like ugly. That makes sense. Like we'd always fix it up so it looked good. Like it wasn't like shit. We didn't live in shit. Nobody wants to live in shit. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not. And you're like, you've got the artsy creative side for sure. So that like everything merged together to make that happen. That's a genius thing actually to offer that.
It's a survival thing.
It's a survival thing, but it's super creative that not everybody thinks of. And it's such an early on like proof of like what you can do when you know how to work with your hands. So that's like just such a cool thing. So you totally came by this naturally. But I feel like I've read somewhere that dad was a carpenter but was not supportive of women doing this kind of work.
My dad was funny. He was a hot mess of a man. He literally was. I loved my dad. Like I literally loved my dad, but he was a hot mess of a man. The guy had so many talents and skills. It was just amazing, but he drank it all away. So unfortunately, and I don't know where to go with my dad. I don't know that he wasn't supportive, but he'd be like, marry rich. That's what he used to tell me when I was like a little girl. He'd be like, marry rich, honey.
Marry rich.
Okay. Marry rich. Obviously, I screwed up because I didn't. Yeah, that was his theory. Like, just marry rich. But he did have like that typical old school mentality, like barefoot, pregnant in the kitchen, like women had a place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's just, it is what it is. Like, am I offended by that? No. Absolutely not. Well, I'm like, hey, Dad, look at, no, I'm going to do it. And I'll just take on the guy and take care of him. Like, how's that?
Were you the only daughter?
Yes. Well, so I grew up with three brothers.
Three brothers, okay.
Three brothers, and then later on, like 10 years later, he remarried and had my younger sister. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
So how did he respond when you started getting into doing this work yourself?
I mean, he seemed totally fine with it.
Yeah. Okay.
He really did. Nice. But if I told him like, oh, I'm dating a carpenter, he'd be like, why? He'd be like, they're broke. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, no, you were a broke dad. Like you were broke. So, yeah, I think for him it was just about. I think he supported me in anything I did.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, what I think he actually created me. If that's the weird thing, like he created what he didn't want.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot, actually. Right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So did all the kids wind up going, because you said you and your brothers would do this together with the apartments, did they wind up going into doing contracting kind of work too, or?
Yeah, so my oldest brother, no, but I have another older brother and he is an electrician and a GC.
Okay. Nice.
He's like my Irish twin. And then my younger brother actually bounced between working for me and working for my other brother. So
okay,
yeah,
nice.
We all have kind of done it. My little sister, she works on machines now. So
oh my goodness, so very handy family.
Yeah, literally.
Good family to know.
I mean, isn't this where it comes from though? Like,
for some people, not for me. Like, I did not come by it naturally. Like, not
like how did you start?
Not at all. I loved Volkswagen Bugs. That was my fault. That was my problem.
I had a good friend back in the day. He loved everything Volkswagen. He swore. Yeah. My son drives Volkswagen now.
Yeah, I love it. See, Volkswagen Bugs are like the gateway drug into becoming a mechanic, and that's what happened to me. But so it was totally like my parents. No, they don't know where I came from. So, but I do think
they were like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, I interviewed a woman a couple of months back who. Her whole family didn't know where her mechanical skill came from. And then she eventually tracked down, she was adopted, but she tracked down her birth father and found out that he's a mechanic too. And so she's like, oh, so it like totally come by it naturally. Yeah.
So were you adopted?
I might have been. Switched at birth, who knows? So I'm seeing in the side like some questions already that I've got. Somebody wants to know what
how do we see these questions?
So there is a little comments button on the side. So if you click
That's
on
true,
comments, you can see them.
I just saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dive into that. We'll dig into some other stuff too, but we'll get this question answered.
Should I answer this question?
Yeah, go for it. What is your best tool?
It's my Martinez hammer.
Your what?
It's pink. My Martinez hammer.
Martinez, that's a brand name?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely a brand name.
And well, I'm sorry. We have, so there's another brand called Martin's hammers, and we use those for metalwork. But that's
so I don't do metalwork, so I wouldn't know.
So
but
not the same thing. Okay.
So no, it's a Martinez hammer. Like, it's pink. He actually made it for me, so it's. But being a woman, like, you're swinging a hammer and tennis elbow. Like, I'm tired. I'm 40 something, and like, he sends me this hammer, and I'm like, wow, this is so fucking lightweight, but it does the job. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah, no, it's a great hammer. It's worth the money.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. It's like my pride and joy.
Look into that. I wish more tools were made ergonomically and like for like. I feel silly saying that they should be like made for women's hands, but
don't say that because it's true though. Like, it's true. As women, we don't have the same mechanics, so it's right. Every tool is different. And we obviously we have learned to adjust. You know, you and I at our age, like, we're just like, we're just run with it, like. But it's true. I don't think people understand that it's different being a woman. Your hands are smaller. Like, everything works differently. But
we're constantly having to adapt to things. Men's uniforms, clothing that's meant, like, tools that are meant for men.
I mean, the female clothing thing is definitely changing. Up. Yes, it definitely is. So that's a huge. I'm like, damn. I was like wearing just regular pink jeans, like getting shit. I don't know. Like, women have so many options now.
So when you tell me like the major differences you've seen, because you came up 20 years ago, initially by necessity, what kind of like differences have you seen from 20 years ago to now in like how you're received? And
honestly, I haven't seen that many differences. I mean, except for like what's offered to us, like in the terms of like clothing and stuff, like that's a huge difference. Work boots are easy to come by, but the men are all the same. Like, they're all the same. You're going to run into your assholes and you're going to run into your decent people. And I think that's generally true in life.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that way. So I don't put stock into the dicks. Like, I'm like, yeah, okay. All right. Like, here we are. And I feel like,
I feel like that's nice a t-shirt in the making.
Yeah. I guess I like that I'm at the age where I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I don't have to prove myself. When I was 20, I had to prove myself. Like, you went on to the job and you had to work twice as hard as the guy. Like, that's a fact. Now I'm just like, all right, here's like a scenario. Like, I go to Home Depot when I was like 23. They'd be like, do you need help? No. Like, I'd be like, no, I don't need any fucking help. I don't need your help. Like, back up. Like, and I would be so offended, like, that I couldn't do it for myself. And now I'm like, they'll come out and they'll be like, oh, do you need help? I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, free labor. I'm like, free labor. I'm like, get that shit in my truck, like, right now. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit back here. Yeah.
Isn't that so funny? I 100% hear you on that. I am the same way.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to prove yourself when you get this age.
You can lift that for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Not that I can't do it myself, but I don't, why should I? If you're here to do it, like, do it. I'm broken old lady. It's so bad, but you got to utilize them to your advantage now. I think it's easy to be offended when you're young, you know?
Yeah.
And when you get older, you just don't give a shit.
And I don't know if it was because I was young or if it was because it was different times, but I felt like I had a huge chip on my shoulder when I was first started out in the industry. Like, I came in ready to fight. Do you know what I mean? And now I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. We're not.
No, you're like, no, I'm good. But because you don't have anything to prove anymore. And I think when you're younger, you have something to prove and you're coming in and you are, like you said, you know, you get your fists up, you're ready to swing. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
But you've earned your place now.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think that's the same thing for males too. And I hate to be that asshole, but I'm not this feminist creature because I feel like a lot of young guys that come in are treated the same way as young women. Like, you're just green and you're going to be treated X way.
Yeah.
And it's how you tolerate it and how you deal with it. And
totally.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. I think how we treat throughout the trades, and I don't think it's, I see it a lot in automotive, but I think it's across the trades, like how we treat the newbies coming in, the green folks, like it's pretty awful, really. Like we don't treat
I know they're
well.
like more like we want kids to come into trades and then we treat them like shit.
And then we abuse them when they do, right? It's awful. But
it's so true.
And then if you're a woman, it's just one more layer, right? Like it's just one more thing for them to rib you about or give you a hard time about. It's that extra piece that is just sometimes makes it just too much, which is why we lose a lot of people in general, but we definitely lose a lot of women from the trades.
Yeah. But there's still not a lot of women.
No. Well, so across the trades, the recent stats are across all of the hands-on blue-collar trades, we are less than 10%. Some are higher than 10%,
but that's administrative. That's everything. So Correct. If you actually talk about the women that are in the field, swinging tools, a hammer, cleaning, sweeping, that's like what, 2-3%?
Yep. In automotive, we're about 1.9%. Our mechanics.
Even less. Yeah.
It's interesting. Women actually make up 25% of the entire automotive.
So there is industry, actually a woman down the street from my house 2%. That runs a shop. So that's pretty cool. Like a mechanic shop.
Yeah. I need to meet her.
I know. I'll actually go and talk to her and I'll be like, hey, but she's hot shit. She literally works on like hot rods and stuff. She's literally like cream of the crop. So it's impressive. I don't know. Jack
what you do is impressive.
I don't know. Cars are impressive to me. Like we always had beaters as kids. So like I had a 5.0 like Capri, like 85 Capri. So I'd be at the junkyard every weekend just trying to put it together. Like,
right.
But that's what I did. That's what kids our age did. We went to the junkyard. We fixed our shit. Yeah. Nobody was going to do it for us. You know?
Well, it's that necessity thing, right? Like when you have to learn. And I also feel like, tell me if I'm wrong about this. Like I feel like since learning about cars, other things don't scare me as much, right? Like once I learned that everything is figure outable and how to unbolt and rebolt things, now it's like, oh, I'm not a plumber, but like I could probably figure that out. Maybe
you probably could. But that is it. Like it's just not being afraid to, just
to try it. Yeah.
So like I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
You want to talk?
No. Go ahead. Sorry. I think there's a delay. I think there's a weird delay in my video.
I think we have a little delay. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a little delay. So I apologize.
But
go ahead.
I was just gonna say real quick. Like I have 2 kids, and the worst thing they could say to me is like, "I can't," and I'd be like, "Well, take that shit out of your vocabulary right now. Like done. Like you didn't even try. You didn't even work for it. Yeah. Like tell me after trying and putting every effort you have that you can't." But biggest pet peeve. Don't. And I think when we're talking about women in trades, I think that women generally are always like, I can't have a guy do it. Like anything that's a little bit harder or move something that's heavy and I just don't think that women realize their capabilities,
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think it's a combination of things, right? So often little girls are being told that they can't, that they shouldn't. Men are being taught, be chivalrous, do it for the women. And so it's like all of these things kind of combine. And if you've grown up your whole life being told that you can't, then odds are you're going to believe that you can't. So do your sons how old are your sons? Then you've got 2 boys, right?
So my oldest just turned 23.
Oh my goodness. No way.
And my youngest is 20. So.
Oh my God. Crazy.
Yeah, they're old. They're old.
So you were a youngin. So Kenneth is asking how your 2 children view mom's job in the trades. So how do they view it?
So I think they have a lot of respect for it. And I think that because I kind of dragged them into it, if that makes sense. Like my oldest son was pushing wheelbarrows at the age of 9, like when I'm doing roofs and I'm like, go load the dumpster. So he is now an engineer. He just graduated. He is a civil engineer, and
that's awesome.
He's doing great. I mean, it's kind of impressive, but he called me like when he was doing his internship last year, and he's like, "Mom," and he had to go out and look at the guys that were literally working in the ditches, digging up the roads, and he's like, "I just felt like," I'm like, "You felt like shit because you were standing there watching them work?" I was like, "Is that what you felt like?" So, I mean, I guess I respect it, but I think that I've given him, I don't know, the tools to deal with those guys properly. Even though he's a young kid, they'll respect him because he's been in the trades,
right?
For a long time. Even though he's only 23, he's been absorbed into it. Yeah, he has. Yeah. He has. He's a good kid. So I think awesome. I think it's good for them.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think anytime young boys see women in these kinds of roles as business owners, as leaders, as tradespeople, like doing the things that are considered non-traditional for women, I think it's really powerful, because then when they go out in the world, they're not going to be weird to a woman in the field, because they know they've experienced it before and they have respect for it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, how many women are they running into?
Well, hopefully more in the future.
I mean, even you, like, how many women do you run into in your field, like in your everyday life, not excluding social media and all that crap.
Right. Well, so I'm an oddball because I bring them all together.
Well, you got like this women's garage, right?
Yes.
Which is fun.
I deal with women all the time, but when I was out in the field, when I was working as a technician, in my entire career, I had met 3 other women. So yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, I go out and you're lucky if you meet 1 or 2. Like, yeah. So that's where we come up with the 1, 2, 3%.
Yeah.
We don't see them everywhere.
Absolutely.
So that's what I like about social media, is that it has kind of drawn us all together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I hate about social media, but I love the fact that
I hate
we now
most everything about social media, actually. But yes, I like the fact that it has created this community.
Yeah, and then we know we exist, and I think that's like the first steps.
I know. Right? You're like, am I the only woman that's dumb enough to do this? Like, and then you're like,
that's what it felt like, right?
Yeah,
that's what it felt
literally.
Like
you're like, wow, I'm just like I'm like a glutton for punishment. And then you're like, oh no, she is too. She is too. So that's fine.
We are all gluttons for punishment. That's for sure.
Literally, because that's all this is.
So when did you, you were doing this out of necessity, when did you make the decision that this was actually what you wanted to do as a career? Or did you just kind of wake up one morning and it was 15 years later and you're still doing it? Was there a point where you're like, I actually want to do this professionally full time?
I think I just always knew.
Yeah.
I mean, I just always felt like I felt rewarded. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just, it's weird because we have this thing where I used to drive around my dad in his truck, and he'd be like, oh, I did that roof, or I painted that house, or I did this. And then I was like, I started doing that with my kids. I'm like, oh, I built that deck over there. I'm like, yeah, no, I rehabbed that house. And then now my kid comes to me and he's like, Mom, he's driving with his girlfriend. He's like, yeah, so I fitted that house up. I did I don't know. I just always felt like it was a rewarding choice. You feel like you've accomplished something if you built something. And
100%.
I love working with my hands. I love getting dirty. I love honestly the physical aspect of it too. In that sense, I'm not afraid of physical. Give me your best. You know what I mean? I'm like, I want to compete with the boys. That's what I'm doing. So yeah, I don't know. I think I just always knew. And I think once I got on the roof when I was in my early 20s, that was going to be it. I knew what I was doing.
So is roofing your favorite thing? Is that no? So, but why getting on the roof was the thing?
Well, because it was the first contractor that was willing to take a chance on a woman, because nobody hires women in construction. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I got on the roof and I was good at it. I was like, kick this shit, done. And then eventually I just worked my way down from the roof and learned everything else in between. But that was kind of my kickoff point,
Interesting.
Roofing's pretty brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. I interviewed a
woman
who has
It's definitely physical. It is, and I'll still sell them because they're good money. But I don't want to have to do it. I think 5 years ago, I humped up a couple of bundles of shingles and I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm like, the fuck? No, this is what we have laborers for. I'm like, what is happening? Yeah. It's a brutal job, and I don't think it's something you should stay in forever unless you can pawn it off on, like, the younger people to do the work of it.
There's a woman I interviewed relatively recently. She's got a roofing business, and I'm like, all the more power to you, woman. What was that? Sorry.
What's her name?
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I'm blanking on that.
I follow her.
I'm horrible with names, and I will tell you afterwards.
I feel like there's not a lot of women that have roofing, so I know. Follow her.
She's awesome. She's super, super cool. So she does roofing as well as other stuff as well. But like I roofed a shingled patio that I built like 10 years ago, and I was like, that's it. I've done it. I don't need to do that again. That's good.
Well, you're was it in Arizona?
It was.
Yeah, no, nobody wants to do that in that heat. Nobody wants to do it in the cold either. So I can remember like shingling in like January in New England, and that's not nice. It's like, no. I remember like literally laying down shingles and thinking, your kids need to eat. Like, you just keep laying these shingles, you do not complain, you do not do anything. And that is literally the driving point. Like, when you're a mom, like, you're just feeding your kids. Like, you're like, just keep doing it. And you want to quit. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I went to that truck that day and like warmed up my feet and like, oh my God, I'm getting frostbite. Like, this is brutal, but you got to feed the family. So unfortunately, it is what it is. And I think that the trades were kind of built for people like me,
Yeah. I think it's kind of a shame that we have the trades are built in such a way, or they're set up in such a way that like you have to want it that bad in order to be successful in it, especially as a woman. But and everybody's got their why or their thing that motivates them and pushes them and keeps them going. And in your case, clearly it was your children, right? And it was an innate like love of this work. But it is a shame that it is an industry that is. It's not easy. It's not that the work is hard. The industry is not easy. I think. I mean, the work is hard too, but
the work is hard and the industry is hard. Like, it's all hard, but it's not in some ways. So it's weird. It's like this catch in the middle.
Yeah.
But you could think that pampered people and spoiled people are they're not gonna aspire to like work with their hands and be dirty. Yeah. I think that's not going to happen. So I guess it's left for the rest of us. I'm just saying.
No, I think that's fair. Although not always true. But I think it's about exposure often. Like,
that's true too.
Because that satisfaction that you talk about, like that, oh, I built that, I did that. Like, I get the same thing working on cars. But I also get the same thing. Like, I'm a weirdo and I crochet because I have an inner.
I learned how to crochet, but you don't.
Nice.
You don't want to know how I learned how to crochet.
I have an inner like 70-year-old in me or 80-year-old, and so I love crocheting. But they get the same satisfaction because it's that like I took something that was nothing and I made it.
That was nothing, and you made something. You created.
Yeah. And
that's
I think
the name of my company, Kreate. Like, literally created something from nothing. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Isn't that what our country was built on? Like, the entire world. The entire world, like, in theory, was built on nothing. Where people with minimal things and were like, hey, let's build something.
Yeah. Absolutely. Excuse me. What is your logo or your slogan I've seen on some of your stuff? It's it's like create, design. Tell me. You have on for your company, like
know anymore.
Design, build, create. I don't know. It's cool.
Something design, build, create, some crap like that. Yeah.
If anybody isn't following Kelly, go check her out on social media because.
But I'm not really good at social media, so they should know
you that. Shut up. You are great.
I'm
at social
the wicked slacker on social media, though. I'll literally be gone for like 3 months, and then I'll come back and be like, hey. And
that's like, okay.
Who are you?
But she is an artist, and you can tell that she is an artist on top of being an incredible tradeswoman because she's got this artistic eye, and all of her photographs are like super artsy and cool. I'm just telling you the truth, man. And her website is great, so go check out her website too. I've got links to all of it in the descriptions below. So make sure you go. Don't go right now because we're going to finish this conversation first. But when we're done with this conversation, go follow her and check out her work. And if you're in the New England area, you should hire her because she does amazing work. So how was getting that first job? You said the roofer was the only one who would give you a chance. How long did you try?
What do you mean? Like, no, that one was easy.
Okay.
Like, so it was almost like they were playing a game, you know? They were like, and I'm like, put me on the roof, and they were like, you can't do the roof. And mind you, I was cocktail waitressing. So I'm like, yeah, no, I can be on the roof, you know? And they're like, yeah, no. And I'm cocktail waitressing at a place called like a Players. It was called Players.
Okay.
And okay, so it was literally a sports bar where they literally sexualize women. So I mean, to the point where Thursday night was like schoolgirl night. Okay, like that's how you had to dress. So I'm like this young mom, like early 20s, got like 2 babies at home, and I'm like, I'm just gonna make the rent.
Like, do what you had to survive.
Fucking plaid skirt with fucking knee-high socks and like whatever, selling guys drinks. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, you want a drink? I made a lot of money doing that, but I was like, put me on the roof, and they're like, and it was almost like a challenge, and that's what I did. I challenged them, and there it was, and they were like, oh, she can actually do it, and I'm like, fucking damn straight, I can do it. Like, that's it. And then the bouncer of the club, I like did his roof, and then he was supposed to pay me, and then he tried to burn me. It was a whole fucking scene, but
oh my goodness.
Nonetheless, I made a place for myself, and there it was in the trees.
All right.
Yeah, I got this.
I love it.
Yeah.
Had you been trying to get a job in the industry prior to that and not had good luck?
No, I think I just generally, I was already interested in it. Like, I was already doing it with, like I said, with the apartments and, you know, rehabbing for our landlords and doing stuff like that. So I just kind of wanted to, like, the problem is, like, at the roofing thing, like, all the guys had roofing jobs at my age, but none of the roofing contractors would hire a woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, it was like this challenge. I got to get in there. I'm like,
yeah,
these guys are making money. They're making bank. Like, in back in the day, that was like $100 a day. Like, you're like, yeah. I'm like, I can do this. I'm like, $100 a day was a lot of money back in early 2000, 2000 or whatever. So I'm like, it was more a challenge. And then it was nice because then it just gave me that, put my foot in the door. And from there,
absolutely,
you just conquer,
That's awesome. I love it. I love you're fierce and spicy, and I love it. So we talked about what your least favorite, and I guess not least, but that roofing is not something you want to do long term. Do you have a favorite type of work that you love the most?
So I love like structural stuff, like anything where like, shit's falling down. And I guess I like it because everybody else is afraid of it. But I love like getting out bottle jacks and creating like support systems and like jacking up a house. I love that. Like because every house is a different scenario. And that's what I like about it, is a challenge. It's something that you get to process your brain like, all right, the joists are running this way. This is sagging over here. We need to get a structure under here. And I don't know. It's just something about it. I think I like it most because most people won't touch it.
Interesting.
I like shit that people don't want to fuck with.
Yeah,
I'm like, somebody want this? I'm like, I'm in there. Let's do it.
You like the challenge of it.
I do. Yeah. I like to be creative and think outside the box,
I appreciate that you totally like blew out my stereotype, because I was like, she's going to say something really creative as far as like making things beautiful. Because you talked about making the apartments beautiful, and I was like, but nope, it's a different kind of creative.
That shit's easy. Yeah, put me in a crawl space and have me jack up a house. Like, I like the dirty, the down. Like, let's get in there. You know what I mean?
I love it. Well, and you're in the right part of the country for that, because everything is old.
Yeah, because we're like, literally, like, I think like the house I just finished, like that I was working on, is 1600 something.
Oh wow!
I don't know. It's fucking
ridiculous.
Actually, it's ridiculous. You're like, half the house is 16, half of it is 17, and then like some guy in the 2000s came and fucked everything up. Like, you're like, what? Yeah. So it's fun. I mean, it's fun. I'm definitely in the part of the country where the houses are fun. they're the original houses that came to America, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Meanwhile, here in Arizona, like houses are all new. Everything
I
is
know.
new.
I
Like if
bet.
you live in a 1970s house, they're like, "Oh, that's old."
No.
But I used to live in a house that was built in 1920, and nobody wanted to work on it because the
Nobody.
contractors in the area don't understand old homes. They're like, "Ooh, we don't know that."
No, I literally have buddies that are contractors, and they'll call me and they'll be like, "Oh, I got this call, Kelly," and they're like, "You want it?" And
Because
I'm
they
like,
don't want
"Why?" And they're like, "It's built in 1910." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take it." But I like that nothing that you do when you go in there is traditional. It's not going to be straight. It's not going to be level. Nothing. You're going to literally be scribing everything and working outside the box, and that's the fun part of it because it makes every job interesting. It's different. Everything's different. You know, I would be bored if I did the same thing over and over and over, like new construction.
I hear you.
I'd hang myself. I'd be like, "What?"
Right? Like diagnostic work, I feel like is the equivalent in cars, right? It's like it's the puzzle of it. It's the really really challenges your understanding of things. You have to figure.
You think like the new cars are worse than the old cars?
They're just different. It's just different
it's all
challenges.
computer bullshit.
Now it's all computer. Older cars, the challenge was if I look at it funny, it's going to fall apart. And
I own a couple cars like that, so I know that's bad.
Right. And then newer cars, they have a lot of computer stuff, but there's just more stuff. There's just more, which I like the challenge, right? I like that.
Yeah.
I like that challenge of really having to dig in and figure it out. And I couldn't do the same thing every day, all day. That wouldn't work for me. So when did you decide to start your business and go out on your own? Because that's a bold.
I didn't do it on my own. I didn't I wasn't like, "Hey, I want to have a business." I guess I never even thought of it. I just always was here making a paycheck. And then I just worked for this asshole. I mean, he was literally an asshole. So I was like, and he was supposed to pay for my contractor license, and then he faltered on that. Then I asked him for a raise. He faltered on that. And then I don't know what happened, but the next thing I know, he's like, "Maybe you should look for another job." And I was like, "Oh, well, here I am." And then I was like, "Okay, well," and then I got my contractor license, and I started my company, and that was my other job. So here we are.
But I mean, okay, so some people would lose a job and then just go apply for another job, but you were like, "No, I'm just going to go out and do it on my own." What made you decide that was like what you wanted to do in the direction you wanted to go versus going and finding another place to work?
Well, I think that I already had work kind of falling on my doorstep where people were already contacting me for work, and I was doing it on the side, nights and weekends, you know, and then when he was just like, "Oh, well, this isn't working out," and I was just like, all right, fine. Well, I guess it's not working out. So, and then I'm like, well, let me just kind of roll into doing stuff on my own in the interim. But then it just turned into all right, well, I'm starting a company, and this is it.
That's awesome. And you haven't looked back. And look at you now, 7 years later.
7 years, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Congratulations.
Almost 4. I mean, almost 8. Yeah, I can't even count. Almost 8 years. So. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Congrats. That is no small feat, having run a business.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. Yeah.
It is.
Anything about being a business owner that has surprised you that you've been like, I didn't expect this part of owning a business?
Me?
Or did you have any things where you're like, "Oh wow, I was not expecting this part of being a business owner"? Any surprises?
I don't specifically. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
That's all right.
But I just think all of it has been exhausting. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
It is. It definitely is. I think people romanticize it a lot, but it is definitely exhausting.
They do. And they'll sell it to you like it's this great thing, but it's not, because it's 24/7 when you're a business owner. It's not shutting it off. It's the emails come in on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It doesn't matter what day it is. It doesn't matter what time it is. Your brain is always moving. And that's exhausting.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, 100%.
But you know,
and I saw lots of pictures. I know you've talked about your sons a little bit and what they're doing now. I love seeing the pictures that you've posted of them being little and out working. It's awesome. Have you worked with apprentices and kind of bringing in younger people aside from your sons?
So no, because I'm not really I'm not a good person to work with.
Why do you say
that? I'm so bad. So like my little brother quit me multiple times. He was like, and he went to work with my brother, who's not even better than me. He's just apparently more sensitive. So, and my oldest son, literally he's cried on the job, but until he learned to maintain me. I'm a fucking lunatic. I'm working and I don't think of other people around me. I just keep working. So I don't know that I'm in tune for apprentices.
Okay. I'm
not gonna lie about who I am. I'm a lunatic on the job. I'm like, what are you doing wrong? So I don't know. It's tough. I would like to pick up a young girl,
Yeah.
And
okay. Might need to work on not being a lunatic to work for then, if that's
what I'm saying.
So going back to my last question, the most surprising thing Kelly learned about being a business owner is that having people work for you is hard.
Well, they're also sensitive these days. I'm like, even my little brother, and I was so nice to him, and he was just quitting on me all the time, and I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, I've been so nice to you.
Okay, but family is tough. I'll give you a pass on that.
Family is tough.
Right. My mom worked for me briefly, and I had to fire her. And
I would have fired my mom right away.
That did not go well.
I love my mom, but bitch would have been fired.
Exactly. Love my mom to death, but that wasn't working.
But we ain't working together. You know what I mean? It's so bad.
So how do you recommend people get into this kind of work? You kind of came by it naturally, but in your experience throughout the years and working in different construction environments, how should a young person, should they go to school? Should they just get a job? What does that look like in your opinion? What's the best way to go about it?
Well, I feel like you need to doesn't it seem like you need to know somebody to get into the trades? If you're just green, doesn't it feel like you just need to know somebody or talk to somebody? For instance, I'm working on this job. I work at a daycare. She's one of my best customers. And they have a son that just graduated. They were like, oh, he thinks he's going to play football. They were like, what can he do? You're coming to me. So, my guy runs a fire sprinkler business, and they're like, hey, maybe he can apprentice him. And I'm like, and honestly, I think sometimes that's how it transpires. So if someone was interested in getting in the trades, then everybody knows somebody who knows somebody that's in the trades. You know what I mean? And maybe painting's not going to be for you. Maybe carpentry's not going to be for you, or plumbing or electrical, but you can kind of just jump around when you're young.
Yeah.
I don't know. For women, it's a little harder, I think.
Yeah.
Because you can't just walk on a job site and be like, I need a job. They're going to be like...
Right.
It's still
if you don't have experience and you
if it's not your brother working it or someone you're not just walking in and getting hired. So
okay, now I'm gonna show my ignorance here because I know a ton about the mechanical world and the different ways that you can come up. You can come up as an apprentice, you can just get a job, kind of learn on
right. So in my area, we have a whole Vogue school where girls will learn.
Okay. So is there the equivalent for construction and for carpentry? Are there programs you can go through to kind of get your head start?
In Massachusetts, it's a union.
Okay.
So if you want to be union, you can go in the union and they'll train. They'll take anybody.
Okay.
In the private world, you're gonna have to know somebody. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So if you don't know anybody, the union is the way to go. Did you ever wind up working in the union at all?
I did not know.
Okay.
No.
Should I ask why?
Well, it's not that I'm anti-union because I think that the union is beneficial, especially it's beneficial for women getting in, and minorities and people like that. But for me, I don't want to just be what's the word? The quota. I don't want to be, and that's it. Everybody is literally the same. Mm-hmm. So if I'm a third-year carpenter apprentice and he's a third-year carpenter apprentice, but he's a lazy fuck that sits on his barrel, we're both making the same amount of money. I don't feel it. No, I can't roll with that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like an individual kind of person, and I think that a union is collective, and yeah, this is more for me. I don't shit on it. Like, I think that it works for a lot of people. Like, I have family members that have been in the union. My brother was a union electrician. You know, I got a cousin that's a union carpenter, and they have benefited very greatly from it. For me, it just wasn't going to be like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's more like too structured for me.
That's fair. No, that's absolutely fair. I think there's pros and cons, like anything.
Yeah,
there's pros
absolutely.
And cons
to anything, to private companies and to union companies. So I'm not going to shit on either. It's an individual choice. Yeah. You know?
I think particularly for women and when you're just starting out, I think it's a great way to get training, to get your foot in the door.
Because they will put you through the schools. They will you know what I mean? Like, you're not, there's no question. Like, you walk in, you're a woman, you're in. Like, that's it. Yeah. It's fine. In fact, you're even going to get preference because they need women. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we've spent, there's been enough time where being a woman has been a negative. So if there's like a brief moment in time where being a woman is a positive, like I will take it. I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. So I think the union does do that for women. Yeah. And it just, I think honestly, when it was presented to me, I was already like halfway through my like career, and I'm like, no. Like, I'm already like vested, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll pass.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. So you learned everything kind of just on the job then? You didn't go into training or do any of that. You learned on the job. Did you have, I've got a Mike, the welder in the audience, who I know this is his favorite question. So and it's one of mine too. Who mentored you? Did you have any great mentors throughout your time, or did you not get so lucky as to have some great mentors?
I didn't get so lucky. I think that I learned something from everyone, and sometimes I meant what to do and what not to do. So
yes.
But I've always felt like you can learn from everybody that you're around. Anybody that has a little bit more experience than you has something to offer. And some of the contractors that I worked for were complete assholes. They were assholes, but that doesn't mean they were dumb, you know? And then some guys are super great, but they were kind of dumb. So, I mean, you just got to pull. And I think that's generally true for life. Like, you're going to pull from every situation that you've ever been in and just learn and learn and learn and learn. And, you know, when we talk about the union and their classes, like, my beef with the union, I think, is that, like, so, and I don't know where it is, how it is in every other state, but here, like, they literally put you on one thing. Does that make sense? Like, okay, you're going to do concrete forms, and that's it. So you're a carpenter, and you're a carpenter in the union, but all you're doing is concrete forms. But here in New England, when we're carpenters, we do everything. Like, we know everything, and we absorb all kinds of information. So, yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah. You know, I feel like you need to know everything. And I do believe, I don't know, the broader your knowledge, the better the person you're going to be. If that makes sense.
No, it absolutely makes sense. And I think that's kind of like a resounding kind of question mark that people have to choose in a lot of the trades, whether you're a welder or you're doing body and paint or being a mechanic. Like, it's are you going to go into the production side of things where you're doing like the same thing all the time over and over and over and over again, or are you kind of a generalist and kind of doing all of the things, right?
Yeah.
Are you welding the same flange to the same pipe day in and day out? Or are you pouring the same concrete
all the time? And then where are you developing? So I don't know. Like, my brother he started out as like, we were the same. He roofed, he was carpenter, and then he went union electrician. He did that, and then he quit. And now he has his company, and I don't even know what he is. Is he an electrician? Is he a carpenter? He tells me he doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up. I don't know. But the idea is, like, just constantly be moving, just be learning and doing stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Just keep building.
Absolutely. And I think it's, for some people, doing the production stuff is perfectly satisfying, right? Like, some people are really good at that repetitive. I am not. Like, I would lose my mind.
I am like, let me switch it up all the time. I like to always be on my toes, you know?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Is there anything that any skill that you haven't learned or tried, or type of thing that you haven't done that you would really love to have the opportunity to do? Yeah.
Welding. Yeah.
Come out to Phoenix.
I will. I literally will. I love Arizona, so I will. I have never tried welding, and I feel like I could be good at it. I feel like I could be good at anything. You know what I mean? I'm just one of those persons. Like I just do it.
I love it. Do you feel like you've always had that? Like I can do anything mentality since you were a little kid? Did you come out that way?
I think I came out that way. Yeah. Literally, like I'd want to, like when you have your kid, and you have your bedroom and you have your bunk beds and your bureaus, and I'd be like, I just want my room a different way. And I would literally be like this 6-year-old little girl, like moving massive old school bureaus, like with my feet, like sitting like against the wall to get like leverage, and I just move my whole room and be like, what the fuck this girl just do? I'm like, it's my new room. Like I didn't know, like I never believed I couldn't do anything. You know what I mean? I just do it.
That's awesome. That is, and I love that you never lost that, because I feel like a lot of little kids have that, right? Like they think they're Superwoman, they think they're Superman when they're little, and then like life tells them otherwise, and they believe it. But I love that you never lost that. You still are like, yeah, I can do that. Of course, I can do that.
I can do everything. I'm like, I can do everything. I want to do everything. Like, there's stuff I'm not going to be able to do, obviously, but I haven't found it yet. So
I love it. All right, so you're going to come out and visit Phoenix when it's not summer.
No, it's hot there. Also, your city looks like a construction site.
Yeah.
So you know what I noticed about Phoenix? So I flew into Phoenix. I was going up to Sedona, and I was driving through, and I'm like, so your city reminds me of like how like a construction site looks in New England, where it's all like brown and not like vegetated yet.
Like our whole city.
I thought it was so weird to me. It's such a different like world, but because you come from here, right? Like New Jersey, so that's or New York.
Both.
New York or New Jersey. Both.
Yeah,
but
both
it's the same thing. Like you have green, you have trees, and you know what a construction site looks like. Like it's just like blah. And that was like Phoenix to me. I'm like, it's like blah. I'm like, are they gonna like put some grass or something? Like, what the fuck's happening? I don't know. I'm just one of those weird people. But Sedona was beautiful.
Sedona is beautiful.
And I went to Lake Havasu in April.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was nice.
Yeah. It is very brown here. You are very right. And I miss
so
the
it reminds
green.
me of construction sites. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And we also have a lot of construction going on all the time, because we're like one of the fastest growing cities in the country,
booming.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Constantly. Yes. Oh my goodness. So we have not a lot of time left, and I want to be respectful of your time. Where can people find you? I'm going to have links in the bio, but tell everybody who's listening in the podcast version where they can find you and support you or hire you if they're in your area.
What does that even mean? I don't know.
What?
Here
Social
I am.
Media.
That's where you can find me.
Here I am. Oh my goodness.
What?
We're gonna work on your self-promotion.
I am wicked bad. I'm sorry. I'm just like, don't buy me.
Okay, so what's amazing though, so I'm gonna promote for you. So I checked out Kelly's website, and it's beautifully done. Her about me is like so perfectly worded, and it's so honest and real and genuine, and she's got some amazing testimonials. So go check out her website. She may not be great at selling herself in interviews, but she is definitely worthy of getting the word out about her work and what she does. So go check her out on social and on her website. And then my final question to you, what I always like to end on, is if you had the opportunity to talk to the younger you, little baby Kelly, or another little girl like you out there, what are your words for her?
Can I tell her to run? Like just run really fast? No. I don't know. Because I feel like I'm still kind of the same person. So that's a tough one.
So what do you tell yourself now then, if you're the same person? And I think you are in a lot of ways.
I mean, it's the same thing I would tell my kid whenever they're like either one of my boys when they're like about to attend. It's like, you got this, like it's about confidence. Don't underestimate yourself. Don't just go for it. I like every time my kid had a test and he'd be like, oh, I'm like, I never told them good luck. Literally, those 2 words never came out of my mouth. I'm like, you got this. That was it. Like, you got this. Like, you got, like, look at confidence. That's it. Surpasses everything because it's going to give you the capacity to go out and get it done. Yeah. I don't know.
No, that is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Yeah. And I think you're 100% right. You've got a lot of folks in the comment section who are cheering you on. So you've got a lot of supporters, and I agree with them. You're fantastic, and you do got this. Anything you set your mind to. Perfect words of advice to end this on. Thank you so freaking much for saying yes. I know you were a little nervous to say yes to doing an interview.
Well, I just said yes, and then you literally hit me up like less than 24 hours to go, and I'm like, oh shit.
We planned this date like 3 months ago. So
I can't remember what was said 3 months ago. You know better, woman. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, I did agree to this, and I'm like, okay.
See, that's how I got you.
You did. You did. And I'm like, I'm in it.
I know how our brains work, but I am honored that you said yes and that you agreed to do it. And your very first interview, you did amazing.
Yay.
You're fantastic. I'm inspired by you. Yep, I appreciate that. You very, very much are an inspiring human being. And I appreciate you taking the time and spending an hour with me. And we will talk more offline. Yes, don't you worry. So for now,
I'm coming to Phoenix now. So
yes, exactly.
Yeah. And you're gonna teach me to weld, right?
Heck yeah! And you're gonna teach me how to do awesome things with wood.
Whatever you want to know.
Okay, all the things. I want to know all of the things.
Okay.
All right. So, have a fantastic evening. We will talk more soon. Folks at home, thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out with us for this last hour. I hope you enjoyed meeting Kelly as much as I did. Make sure you go check her out on social media and her website and show her some support. And as always, make sure you come back next Wednesday to meet another incredible tradeswoman. And of course, every Monday night, we have archive episodes from this podcast's former life as the series on Instagram called Trades Lady Happy Hour. So every Monday night and every Wednesday night, you get 2 doses, 2 chances to meet incredibly inspiring, amazing women in the trades. And you can, of course, listen anywhere you get your podcasts as well. Make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe, leave comments. We appreciate you. And until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to one another. Good night.